Bhai, can you recap a little about what happened in the first one?
Sure, thank you. So last month, we started with the series, The Art of Communication. In that series, in that first part, we covered that vocal dynamics, body language is very important. If someone sees you and when you're speaking, the focus is 7% on the message, the other 93% is on the vocal dynamics and body language. It matters what you say, but it matters even more how you say it. The second technique was something called Eli Ba. That imagine that we have our Ba, our grandmother, in front of us. And if there's any topic, any content, any subject that we want to explain, and if our grandmother, if our Ba can understand it, it means that we have effectively communicated our subject. The last one was something that induces hunger. It was vada pav technique. It means that there's a lot of things to say, but how do we say it concisely? We don't want to waste the other person's time. We want to focus only on the relevant facts. So the vada pav technique was that you start with the subject that you want to say, highlight the relevant aspects of the subject, and then summarize the subject again, conveying the message in a concise manner. So these were the three techniques that were covered. So today in the interview, we'll take these techniques, combine them with the few interview techniques, and then today we'll go on a journey of how to effectively communicate in an interview.
So there's a couple items up there. First, we want to do a couple close-ups of everyone here today. No, I'm just kidding. We want to go back to the slides. Okay, so this is the agenda for today. It's there's a lot of key secrets in each one of these agenda items, and we want to make sure everyone walks out. You're not going to be a good interviewer after the end of this session, but you're going to be equipped with the right tools that if you study a little bit on these items, you'll be able to nail any interview at any company. The first thing we're talking about today will be listening. How do you actively listen to the person who's giving you an interview, and why is that important? The second thing we'll talk about is when you walk into an interview, what are the 4 or 5 things that the interviewer should walk away with? Every sentence you say is very meaningful. At the end of that 60-minute session, they should walk away with 5 things, and we'll go over that. The third item was the STAR method, which was talking about what the situation is, the task is, the action is, and the result. How every question should be answered. There's some techniques in this as well. The one before that I skipped is what we always get. Tell me about yourself. It's a very tricky question, and we'll go into some secrets there. Asking the right questions at the very end is important too. And then the last piece we'll go over is a secret, which we'll save. One question that you could ask to really nail the interview at the very end, right? So this is our agenda.
Active listening. Communication is not just about talking. It's about listening. But when I first started interviewing, all I wanted to do was showcase my knowledge, because we have put in hours and hours of effort in studying the content, the subject. We have become an expert. And then the mindset is that I want to just give everything. I want to impress. But that's just one way. Interview is a conversation. And in a conversation, listening is very important. It is as important as speaking. So when we go into the listening, there are some things within the listening part that we'll cover.
So as Krutard Bhai was speaking, and while I'm speaking, watch what we are doing while the other person's speaking. Very similar to an interview. The first thing is engagement. Many people don't understand this, whether it's virtual or in person. Your eyes should be on their eyes the entire time. If they float away a couple seconds, it's okay. But as they're speaking, your eyes are on their eyes, you're listening very intently to what they're saying, and you're nodding. You are nodding, so you're giving them a signal that you're understanding what they're saying. The reason for this piece is not so you are taking more from what they are saying, but it's more for the listener or for the interviewer to understand that this person really cares, is really listening, and will do what I tell them to do in the future. So it's very important to have that first piece of engagement. The second part is the understanding. Don't be afraid to paraphrase something that they say, okay? If they talk for 10 minutes, you can pause and say, okay, 1 second. I just want to make sure I understand what you said. What you are saying is that first there's money that goes into here. The money is used by this team and spent by that team. Is that correct? The interviewer will say yes. Okay, good. I understand. Keep going. It gives them more confidence that you are actively listening and you are engaged, and this is someone who will do this when I hire them as well. So it's important for these two pieces.
So usually what happens is, we have this mindset that if we don't understand something and we ask them clarifying questions, they might see us as someone who's dumb. But that's not the case. We are asking them clarifying questions to understand. And even if it takes more than 2 times, 3 times to ask those questions, do it. Because the idea of an interview is to come together, and when the questions are asked, the idea is to come to a working solution together. So for that, if any sort of understanding is needed, don't be afraid to ask clarifying questions. That's also part of active listening. The third one is flexibility. I don't want to be stubborn in my thoughts. I don't want to be stubborn in my answers. How many of us have the bad fortune of going through lead code interviews? Please raise your hands. I'm saying this bad fortune because someone who haven't had it until now will go through it. So when you present a solution, okay, the interviewer usually asks that how about instead of using hash map, let's use a list or an array. But if we say that no, hash map is the right answer, is the optimal answer, that means we are closing one avenue. But here, what the interviewer is really trying to say is, try to explore for another solution. Think outside the box. He's actually testing not our ability to come up with an optimal solution, but with our ability to think of different solutions, diverse solutions, think outside of the box. But the listening part, the flexibility part here is that if we are not open to that avenue, we're lost. So active listening here is extremely important in the sense that we engage, understand, and be flexible.
Now, this is very important here. When you're interviewing with someone, what do they care about? And we'll read this one by one, okay? The first thing they care about in every single one of the answers that comes out of your mouth, one of these should be there, and they should walk away with this. As a person who interviews many people, I will care that you are very passionate about your work. How do you answer in that way? If you are a coder or a developer, I don't care that you went to school. I don't care that you got a 4.0. But when you tell me something that I develop on my free time, or me and 3 friends got together and created a new app, you're not getting paid to do that work. You're doing that based on your own motivation. And that gives me confidence that you are actually very passionate about what you do. That one theme should always come out in everything we talk about. To show passion in what you're doing. Whether it's data science, whether it's computer engineering, whether it's a garbage man. Really, if you show passion that you are going out to every single street, making sure that even if a bottle gets dropped on the floor, I pick it up and put it in there, that tells me that you would be perfect for this job. That's what should come out of this first piece. The second piece as a manager, I do not want to hold your hands every day. I do not want to tell you what to do every day. You should be fully autonomous. I should give you one question, one problem, and I should trust you that you will go find a solution, find everything you need to. You'll ask your friends, you'll ask Google, you'll ask your coworkers, and you'll come back with an answer. As a manager, I'm not going to hire someone I have to waste too much time on. As a manager, I do not want someone that I have to give daily tasks to. So, in your 60 minutes of interviewing, there should be one question which you answer that show that you are a self-starter, you are self-motivated, and you do not need to be told every day what to do. You give me one task and I will get it done and I'll manage it and I'll make sure it's the best project you get. That should come out in one of your answers.
Fast learner and resourceful. Now, if we talk about tech companies, most of the technologies that they use, they're in-house tools. And what we use in college or for our own projects, they're open source. So obviously, these tech companies, they don't test you on their in-house tooling. But what they're looking for is that how fast can you learn the in-house tools? Because let's say you take any FANG company. They all use their in-house tools. And the first 6 months are always spent on learning those tools. Second, if you know a programming language and you're extremely good at it, how fast can you pick another programming language? How much of POCs can you do? If the new technologies are coming up, how fast can you adapt to those new technologies and adapt it in such a way that benefits the company? In one of the interview, I was asked, it was a lead code round, but at the end of the lead code round, they asked me that what was something new that you read this month from the engineering point of view, and please explain it to me. That question really threw me off guard, honestly. And I was like, I didn't learn anything new because I was focused on solving two-sum and reversing linked list. But that was one of the questions. I wasn't able to answer properly, and that probably didn't make me get the job. So how fast, learner, and resourceful you are also makes a difference. Will you fit on the team? I may be the best, but I have a very bad attitude. Obviously, that does not come out in the 30 minutes, but it comes out in our answers. That whether are we able to collaborate with other members of the team? Whether are we, like you see another point, but are we able to accept failures? The other thing is that a lot of these jobs, they require the individual to collaborate with cross-functional departments. So let's say an engineer will also be working with the product team, marketing team, customer service team. He will be talking to the CEO. He will also be talking to someone. If it's a company that has a warehouse, he might even have to talk to that person. Now, can this person communicate effectively to all of them? Is the question. Can this person collaborate and come to a solution together? That's the question. So, and the work ethics part. Do you show work ethics or not? If everything or if every aspect of this is communicated properly, that's what the manager cares about.
And the last piece is a failure. We, growing up as Indians, and our mothers and fathers have never allowed us to fail. In an interview, make one answer a failure. Like, just make that a rule of thumb. They'll ask you 7 questions. 6 of them answer with a huge success that you had at work. There should be one that shows failure. because failure equals humility. That's a very big virtue in America's corporate world. So when we talk about one failure, it's fine. Talk about a big project. Talk about where you weren't able to communicate properly with someone. Or I tried really hard, but the results didn't come in. All that is well and good. You know what makes a failure question an A-grade answer, or a failure answer an A-grade answer? As long as you pair it with what you learned from that failure. That I was tasked with this, I spent 100 hours on it, I talked to 3 people, and we produced the best app ever. But then what happened in the app? No one was using it. And the CEO called me and said, please shut down the app. That was one of the biggest failures of my life. But what I did learn is that I did not do enough user research in the very beginning. If I did the right user UI, UX research in the beginning, I would have developed this app a little differently in where many other people would have used the app. That's it. You talk about the failure, and you talk about, did what I just say sound like a failure to you? It doesn't sound like a failure. It was a huge failure, but if you pair it with something you learned, it's a success in an interview.
Elevator pitch. This title came up with the picture that if you're in an elevator and you have 2 minutes to talk about yourself, what would you say? Because now you only have 2 minutes. So that 2 minutes is actually tell me about yourself. Every interview, be it technical, be it your first recruiter round, be it behavioral, be it with the hiring manager, they always start with tell me about yourself. Now it's very important that the first 15 to 30 seconds, we introduce ourselves and set the context. But the context would be different for a talent acquisition person, a hiring manager, a technical interview guy, or someone who's asking us behavioral questions. Introduction and context setting. Context setting also means that, for example, we need to research on what kind of job it is. So if it's a senior position, you might not want to talk about, okay, these are the projects that I did in undergrad. That's fine. They don't care about what we did in undergrad. They are looking at our previous experience, and hence we have got a call for a senior position. So it's important that that experience is the context. Second, highlighting skills and qualifications. So let's say someone here is a full stack developer, right? You have experience in both front end and back end. But now the role that we are researching for, or that we have researched for, is leaning more towards back end. So highlighting qualifications and skills in that is better than highlighting skills in front end. So that's 30 to 45 seconds. Third part is demonstrating virtues. Now all of our projects will have a tangible effect or impact. But there are some things which are intangible, like work ethics. So some way you can put in those virtues, like thinking out of the box, going beyond, collaboration, accepting failure. If there's something that you can highlight in that elevator pitch for 30 to 45 seconds. For example, there was a time when there was a production issue at work. A lot of us must have faced it. So I put in 15 hours a day for 1 week to solve the issue. Now the impact may not be converted into revenue, but it shows that we have the work ethics. It shows that we have the ownership for the project, and those intangible values are communicated. And the third one is call to action. So if we have researched the company, so again, why I'm saying is research, because research is the first step before we go into any of this. If you have researched the company, the role, and even the interviewer, we'll be able to customize it on how we can contribute to this particular role. It may be specific experience. So in a company, let's say someone's applying for machine learning and recommendation systems. So in the call to action, you can say that my significant experience in recommendation systems will allow me to contribute significantly to this aspect of the job. So now that's call to action. So to summarize, we spend 15 to 30 seconds in introduction. We spend 30 to 45 seconds in highlighting relevant skills and qualifications. 30 to 45 seconds in virtues, which are intangible contributions. And call to action, which is again a summary, but focusing on the relevant part. Let's hear an example from Anand Bhai.
Here's what the example was, and it's my personal example as well. Every sentence you say should convey a meaningful message. If it does not convey a meaningful message, take it out. And I'll go through my own, what I think is my own tell me about yourself, and I'll pause and let you know why I said a certain sentence, okay? So if someone asks me, tell me about yourself, I will start with, I graduated in 2009 with a chemical engineering degree. At that time, I was going in a career booth and I was looking for a job. As you know, 2009 was the dump of the economy, so I had a lot of trouble finding a job. But I gave my resume to one booth, which was at Verizon. And the first thing the person said is, you know this is a telecom company. Why the heck would we hire a chemical engineer? Stop, okay? Within 20 seconds, I gave background, very quick background about where I went to school, what I graduated, and maybe a funny story about how I interviewed for a job or how I tried to get a job that was outside of my major. Then that person looked at my resume and said, oh, you are a leader, a president of the Omega Chi Epsilon, which is a chemical engineering honor society, and we have a leadership position available for you. Do you want to interview? Stop. The reason why I said that is literally I'm bragging. I am telling people that in college, I was a leader of a fraternity called Omega Chi Epsilon, which was an honor society. I'm literally bragging in my tell me about yourself, okay? They take me behind a booth, and after a quick 30-minute interview, they said you'd be perfect for a position that we have. It's the NLDP program, Network Leadership Development Program. Stop there. Why do you think I said that piece again? I'm bragging again. I'm telling my next job that I got hired straight out of college into a leadership development position. You may not all have opportunities to do this, but you have to find something in your career or your talk track where you can have a chance to brag a little bit to the person without actually showing that you're boasting. When I got hired, the first thing that happened was I had to move to Boston. It was a development program, so they moved me from Boston to Albany, to Philadelphia, to Albany, to New York City in the first 6 years of my career. Stop. Why did I say that piece? It shows that I'm flexible. It shows that I'm adaptable. It shows that I'm willing to do everything for the company. You may not have that, but you could talk about it within that office that you had, how you moved went on a dime when you were told to, right? I can talk about that when I got to Boston, I was a traffic engineer. At that time, the iPhone was first being introduced to Verizon. And what happened was when the iPhone was introduced, all of our cell sites were blowing up and no one was able to get any internet service. I was the one who was put in charge to make sure that every cell site has enough capacity in Boston. What does that tell the person about what I do? That I took some leadership position, that I was trusted with a big project and I was able to deliver. Next, I went to Albany. In Albany, I was a cell site supervisor. I was managing people at 25 years old who were in the company for more than 25 years. 50, 60, 70-year-old people. What does that tell the person? I'm not going to keep going with my tell me about yourself, but I cover the first three pieces. Every sentence should deliver some meaningful message to the interviewer. Don't worry if it's not explicit, but it'll start churning in his mind that this person is a leader, this person can handle big projects, this person is flexible, this person is also funny. You're checking all the boxes that they want to hear. And at the end, you had the call to action that Krutar Bhai talked about, which is how do I relate that to the job position? That because I've done all these experiences, I feel like I would be a perfect person for this role, for this position, and I would very much excel given my experience. Very simple and done. One more thing I swear to you I add in every interview, and you don't have to copy this, but bring something non-work related about yourself to the tell me about yourself, okay? Bring a passion, bring mandir, bring a volunteering effort into there. I tell them, and you don't have to copy this, but I tell them that I belong to a nonprofit organization called Atmiya Charities. In there, there's a guru, Guru Hari Prasad Swamiji, which I believe in as my guru and my person who I look up to. And he has always said that if you want to become a garbage man, become the best garbage man out there. If you want to become a doctor, but make sure you're the best doctor that's out there. And that philosophy, those words have kept with me throughout my entire life. And that is the reason why every job that I have, I try as hard as possible. That's it. And this is something that has been taught by our guru, but I'm able to show this in a tell me about yourself, which tells the interviewer that I do go above and beyond because of someone that I follow.
And while we heard Anand Bhai's humble brag about tell me about yourself,
we want everyone to practice this, all right? So again, it's going to be interactive. There's going to be 2 exercises. Pick your partner right next to you. And if we could go back 1 slide, Smaran Bhai, we can practice the tell me about yourself in 2 minutes. If you could go back 2 slides. Pick your partner, tell me about yourself in 2 minutes. We'll give you 4 minutes to practice. One person goes, then the other person goes. And then I want to hear the best one out there. So we're going to call on people, okay? Go ahead. If you haven't switched, please switch. Okay, everyone, raise your hand if you think your partner described themselves in a very meaningful manner and you learned the most from them in the last minute or 2. Real, not just because you want to pick your partner. Real. Okay.
Okay. My name is Rahul Panchal. I am currently working in a pharmaceutical industry. I started my career as a mechanical engineer, and I got my first breakthrough as a packaging engineer in Thermo Fisher. From the very beginning, I had a career, projects and career into packaging engineering, and that made some relevance to the current project. In the Thermo Fisher Scientific, I was into the BPC container packaging. After a couple of years of experience, I got hired into GSK, where they were commissioning a new line for injectable packaging. Also, I was hired to do compliance and engineering. So I was a bridge between 2 teams which needed to coordinate. So I had a cross-functional team working. Also, I had an environment where I could learn more about validation engineering because each machinery required an validation for the FDA compliances. And therefore, onwards, I got a permanent role at BSM, where we do clinical clinical injectables manufacturing for rare diseases, currently I am doing a $34 million project commissioning, and that's how I got into a leadership role, which is a senior validation engineering. And from there onwards, I'm looking forward for a role which takes me towards higher management level positions in a couple of years. Thank you.
Very good. Clear metrics, what he's looking for, what gave him the big breakthrough. So one more person from here. Please raise your hands if you think that your partner did an amazing job for the partner. Nobody?
No, there were hands right here.
Oh, one. So meet by.
No, right here. Emne aapa.
Yeah. Okay. Please stand up.
Hi everyone, I'm Rashil Rambia, a master's in CS student at NJIT. It's my last semester. I tend to walk the stage on May 24. So I am a CS major by choice, but my first preference is being a data analyst. The reason behind is my first internship, which was back in India, was to do with stock market data. And so I learned over there that every choice we have to make is to be supported with a decision that comes with data. Also, fun fact about me is that I love cars. So, if I have to choose a car in a debate, like which car to buy next for my family or for my parents, the main decision is always coming from the data I find online, from various journals and YouTube reviews, which are put down into Excel sheets based on the mileage, the resale values, the maintenance, which matters to my dad the most. And then we have a decision makes. So from there onwards, I learned that how data is important to make any decision that we need in a everyday life.
Very, very, very good. One more. This is where you have to yell at your partner after the soba or the workshop.
Hi everyone. Am I audible clearly enough? Yeah. So my name is Pratik Chavan, and I'll be graduating in 24th December. My major is Master of Science in Business Analytics from University of New Haven, and I have graduated in my BTech degree is in Computer Science Engineering, and I am sort of in the middle of things right now, but I would say I would like to pursue a data scientist role, a data analyst role, or cutting both of them in the middle, a business analyst. Like that would be my first preference, because I have worked for close to 5 years in a client-facing role where I used to handle customer complaints and provide prompt and quick solutions to the customers, which they were happy with, and so was my company. And I've also tried my hand at a startup, and unfortunately, it was not successful. I had to back out of it after 2 years. But that did give me some learning experience on how to deal with people, how to handle people, and along with that, my technical background, I would say I bring two things to the table which would make me a perfect fit for a business analyst, which is bringing in the technical expertise as well as handling the people, like being the bridge between the developers and the clients. So I would say, yeah, that's my USP.
So I think Rahul Bhai, we got a lot out of yours. You had a lot of tasks. You complete tasks. You had XFN collaboration, cross-functional collaboration. You led a multi-million-dollar project. All that came out in 2 minutes, which was very nice. For you, you talked about you gave a very personal sense of like, hey, how you connected data with cars, right? And how you like cars and how you go throughout your research and relate that to your job. That tells me a little more about your passion and how you connected your passion with an actual, job posting or a role that you're applying for. And what was your name? Pratik bhai. You also, even though you talked less about what you've done, it was as if you're a human. You're not a robot. You didn't just go down your resume and talk about, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this, I did this. No, you talked about some things that you're worried about, some things that I'm still conflicted. Data science, business analyst, let me just go business analyst, right? Like you're talking it out. And all three were very powerful and very engaging. Just like that, I think all of us, we want to write these down. And as you write them down, you practice and practice and practice, and you get a 2-minute perfect speech for tell me about yourself. So please give them three another round of applause.
Now the next part of the interview. Star, Tare Zameen Par. So, in an interview, there are different types. Now, the hiring manager is going through our resume. The first question he asks, or they ask, or she asks, is, tell me about yourself. The second question would be, explain a project from the resume. So now, we don't want to answer in a haphazard way. It has to be structured. There has to be storytelling. Storytelling in such a way where the interviewer is engaged, they get the context. Because they are looking at the resume, they are looking at words, but they may not have full context. Right? So the structure to that storytelling is known as STAR. What is STAR? Is situation, task, action, and result. Now, I used to work as a data scientist in my previous company, and I used to work with the marketing team. Now, there was a project with the marketing team, and if someone asks me to explain that project, I cannot say that I built logistic regression and I got 90% accuracy. Done. The interview will be like, thank you for your time. But rather, I'll have to explain that the marketing team was spending $1 million every month, and they wanted to optimize their spending. So that was the situation. Now, because they wanted to cut down on the spending and optimize it, and yet get the best results. So that was the situation. Task is the specific objective. So they wanted an optimization model that would help them cut down the spending using machine learning or just linear programming. Either of them was fine. But they wanted a model. So that is the task. That building model is the task, not the situation. The context here was optimization, building a model. Action was different types of actions taken. So I built a forecasting algorithm, linear programming algorithms. And then the result was that A, my forecasting was 95%. It helped reduce the budget by $300,000 a month. So that was the result. So now I have a structure. Overall goal, specific objective, different actions taken, and what was the result. I'd like to highlight one thing again, that what you get as part of your output of whatever program that you write, that's not the result. The result is how the team, how the company, or how the stakeholders were affected by it. So let's again look at an example by Anand Bhai.
And I just want to share one secret one of two coming out here. You should be answering every question in STAR, but you should be doing it before your interview, okay? And what I mean by this is preparation is very key. Write 7 sheets of paper. Have 7 sheets of paper. Go to Google and type in the top 100 interview questions. Pick any 7 questions. Write 1 question on every one of those 7 sheets. Got it? Then have an entire page response written out in a Word doc or by pen before you walk into any interview. If you don't do that simple homework, do not expect to pass any interview. And after you take the interview and get rejected, you can't complain either. This is minimum requirement. 7 questions on 7 sheets, and you write a whole entire answer. Your answer will be in the STAR format, and you should have 7 different situations that you could think of. Whether you're a college grad or whether you are 50 years old with 30 years of job experience. 7 situations which you could fully flesh out. You know why this is important? It's not the preparation piece. It's because those answers that you have, you will be able to use them for any one of the 200 questions that can be thrown at you. any question you go through your mind, one of those answers you'll be able to use for it. So always prep for the STAR format. Let's go to the next slide. We want to give an example. Is Shashwat Bhai here? He's all the way in the back. Shashwat Bhai, we took your resume and we just put 2 bullet points there, okay? First one, saved $1,000 monthly in infrastructure costs by phasing out SQL Server dependence after engineering a scalable framework for direct data extraction into tabular models from Azure Databricks using .NET and Power BI. That's a lot in one sentence. But if we had to get a question that's asked and you had to answer it and you wanted to use this bullet from your resume, how can you start? What is the situation? Is the situation written here or not? Yes or no? Raise your hand if you think it's written here. Raise your hand if it's not written here. Or don't raise your hand if you don't think it's. Raise your hand if it's written. It's not written right now. Saved 1,000 monthly. The situation, I'm going to make this up, is the CEO went to Saswat and said that our OPEX budget is $30,000 too high every month. And if we keep spending this much amount of money every month, our company will go bankrupt. Saswat, can you please fix this issue? That's the situation, which is not here. That's the situation that someone who's reading your resume has no idea. But when you go into an interview, you have to let them know that this is the situation I was put in. My CEO came to me saying that $30,000 overspend on our OPEX budget, on our budget. And there's a lot of infrastructure costs, and Saswat, you back there, you need to help me fix this. Then Saswat answers the task. The task was, I had to save thousands of $30,000 every month in infrastructure costs. Okay? So what did I do? I had several brainstorming sessions with team members across my team, finance team, and accounting team. And we got on a whiteboard and we did a post-it exercise. And I asked everyone that any and all idea you could think of, write it down on a post-it and put it up there. And we came up with over 100 ideas. And after we came up with these 100 ideas, I looked at each and every one of them and said, hey, which idea will be the most impactful? And I found out that our dependence on the SQL server was costing us the most money, and it was costing us $30,000 a year. So again, I brainstormed with the team and we came up with a very innovative idea. The innovative idea is using .NET and Power BI APIs to extract data from Azure Databricks into tabular models for our customer. It took me about 30 days to write the code for this. We implemented it, and after implementation, we found out that we no longer needed SQL servers. And because we no longer needed SQL servers, I was able to save $30,000 for the company, which prevented us from going bankrupt, period. That's your answer to that question. You gave a situation, you gave the task at hand that I had to save the money. You talked about the action that I talked with 20 people. I led that effort. I brought them into a room. I did an exercise. I had 100 ideas, and I picked the most impactful idea out of that. Then I actually wrote the code for it, implemented it, and here we are at $30,000 savings a year. That's a huge success story. Whatever the question was, that is one page that I would have written Shashwat Bhai. I made a lot of this up, but maybe something along those lines you may have done for the first one. Okay? So I actually would prefer giving everyone one exercise. And we want to practice again for 3 minutes. Okay? The question is, what is your greatest accomplishment? Answer it in the STAR method. What was the situation? What was the task? What was the action? What was the result? And then ask your partner, did you fully understand what I said? Yes or no? Ask your partner after you say it. Get feedback from them. Okay? Same partners. 3 minutes. Go ahead. Tell me about your biggest accomplishment. Okay? Your biggest accomplishment.
I hope we have switched partners. Couple more minutes. Okay, ready? May I have your attention, please?
Okay.
So, who do you think had the best answer? Show of hands. Come on, no volunteers? Do you want me to pick? Kushal bhai, okay.
Jason. So one of my biggest achievement was during one of a leadership call. What I found was they were running short of budget and they were trying to optimize the current flow. So a gap which I found as an analyst was whenever a parent team used to create one ticket at their end, they had to commit some time in creating a child ticket in our team. And every department had a different way of creating their ticket. So what we did was we automated this whole process. So how this saved was whenever the parent team used to create their ticket and ours, so there used to be title difference and they used to submit incomplete tickets. So now, just by the automation and making some fields mandatory, the first thing which was eliminated was incomplete tickets, which eliminated all the to and fro communication redundancies. And the other thing was, as we have a formalized titles, this eventually bring a lot of clarity on what was the purpose of the ticket. That was one of our key wins.
Wait. I didn't get an action from you. I need to know what you did to make that ticketing process better. What did you specifically do there? And then the other thing missing is the impact. After you deployed it, were there 40% of customers that are happy? Did 20 customers stay on? What was the result of your work?
So the result which we found was over the year, we saved almost 7,200 man hours over the year, which saved a lot of time of every employee, which can be diverted to something even more productive. And we did this with a team of 10 people, and we did a pilot round to see whether it is a successful or no. And then we eventually implemented to all the teams, which had a huge impact.
Who else? One or two more. Who else? Do I have to pick on someone random?
Yours?
Hello everyone, my name is Rajat Agrawal. So my position in EY was auditing listed companies at one of the multi-million dollar client or Fortune 500 client. We were supposed to implement a technology which would reduce the man hours and reduce the cost of EY as well as help the benefit to reduce their overall cost and increase profitability. So the major tasks were to adopt the technology, being a finance background, and implementing it at a client end who doesn't have any idea of finance or technology. I was supposed to lead this task. So for starters, we discussed with the technology team what are the data requirements from the client. After certain brainstorming sessions and understanding the tool, then we had a certain meetings with the client and explained them how this tool would help them to reduce the cost. After getting to a common working point, we get the data from the client, analyze the tools, and connect it with the technology team that are the results as per the pilot run or what the product should give. Then we implemented the tool over the client and helped them reduce their employee cost since they were paying many overtime to the client for putting certain entries or unnecessary logins. Thereby, they were reducing the cost by 1% after we have given them the employee-specific person who were overtiming, but it was not necessary for that task. And as a EY, we saved around 200 man hours over the month. That translates to 2,400 hours and a $10 million cost of the employee payroll. So it was overall process optimization for client, efficiency at the EY end, and personal technological development at a personal level.
One more.
Hi, my name is Hetvyas, and a situation that was presented to me during this summer of 2023 was I was selected by my professor as her research assistant, and the situation was something like this. We had a few meetings or to understand the data. The data was first 2 quarters of 2021 mutual holdings of United States in America, and the task that I was given was to clean the data and make derive some meaningful insights of how much percentage or how much amount or what countries are holding mutual fund holdings into cryptocurrency markets, into fintech markets, and into AI companies. Now, the result that eventually came out was we had a few meetings. I had to use Python and Microsoft Excel to clean the data. The first setback that came to me was I started with Google Colab, which I couldn't get through, and I had to shift to Jupyter Notebooks. So I got the raw data form into the correct data frame format. I shifted it to CSV, and then I derived some of the insights that these are the companies, these are the holdings that I have segregated. One of the crucial insights, the result that came out of it was that I was the only one who picked up that after United States of America, Australia and Thailand were the only countries that had a unusual amount of sum which was being held in cryptocurrency and fintech holdings. And for what I was eventually told to give a presentation in front of the whole school of business.
Any quantification of your impact?
The accuracy that came out of my research, like after my professor did the same research, her accuracy come down to 97%, and I was the second one who came down to 92%.
Very good. All three. Big round of applause. Okay, we're closing at the very end, and we want to release one more secret. And this secret is a question that you could ask the interviewer at the very end. Only if you have the guts to ask them. You can ask them that, is there anything in this interview that gives you any doubt that I can't handle this job? If so, please let me know so I can clarify. Did you catch that? You are putting the interviewer on the spot. If there's anything from this interview that gives you any doubt that I cannot handle this job, tell me now. Most interviewers will say, nah, everything was good. Everything was perfect. Let them leave with that thought in their head. Almost no one will say, I didn't like this. Let them leave with, no, you interviewed well. Then you could say, thank you very much, and walk out. But you leave them with a very nice lasting impression. Practice that question. If you have the guts at the very end, ask it. That's it for today's ACC Career Compass. Let's go to the next slide. One more item.
So, like every other video that we have, ACC has a YouTube channel, and all the previous career compasses have been uploaded there. So we can share it with our friends who will also benefit from it. And for all of us present here, like and subscribe, hit the bell button.